Hi, everybody. I'm here today to talk to you about spiritual attachments. So, a spiritual attachment is the idea that a spirit can attach itself to a person or an object or a location. Now, there's a few different theories on why this happens. So, one would be that the spirit was attached to this object or location or even a person when they were alive, and so they kind of stay connected to them or the item after they die. Another theory is that for spirits that get attached to humans, potentially a person's having a difficult time in their life and they leave themselves susceptible to negative spiritual attachments. Now, the idea for this, I don't necessarily agree with, but it is a kind of common thought process where spirituality and paranormal go. So basically, if you're having a hard time in your life or if you're struggling with something, a spirit might attach itself to you and kind of try and bring you down even more. So when something like this happens, you would obviously have to reach out and be able to get the help that you need to heal yourself, but you would also need to get some help to rid yourself of this negative entity. In these cases, I believe generally that the spirit that's attached to you would be considered non-human, so possibly an entity or just very negative energy that kind of collects around you. So spiritually, you would have to do things like meditation and grounding, and in some cases, some people believe exorcisms are in order, things like that, to kind of get rid of the negative entity that has attached itself to you. So that's not good. In other instances, possibly somebody that really cared about you in life passes away, and then they kind of stick around to make sure that you're okay, to check on you, stuff like that. That would be kind of a more positive spiritual attachment. As far as spiritually attached objects go, in life, if a person really loved something, they might stick with it once they passed away. If something was very important to them, if it meant a lot. In some situations, it's believed if they're very protective of an item, they might attach to it in kind of a negative way. I was on an investigation once with a woman who dealt with a lot of spiritual things, and she told us that there was some nesting dolls in this person's house, and a spirit who had just kind of been wandering through had noticed these nesting dolls and had always wanted nesting dolls when they were alive, and they never had any, and so they attached themselves to these ones. So she gave the spirit permission to kind of sit with the dolls for a bit and then move on. These were not their dolls, and so they could not really stay attached to them. And so that's a potential way, I guess. And if that is how it sometimes works, that means that even things that are in our possession that we bought new, that had no spiritual attachment prior to our purchasing them, could potentially end up with a spirit that just really, really likes them and wants to kind of play with them. So that's a really, really interesting kind of theory, and I really love it, actually. So I don't know, but I guess if you suddenly find that one of your items that previously wasn't haunted seems haunted, or has activity surrounding it, you might want to tell that spirit, this item actually doesn't belong to you, and it's probably time for you to move on to somewhere else. So if there's no rules about where spirits can go once we die, then I guess we could just kind of window shop in everybody's houses for items that we think are cool. So I don't know, but if you think about that, it really can unravel quickly. So as far as locations go, spirits could be attached to land, to buildings, and these spirits, we usually get called to these places, and when we look up the history, something traumatic maybe has happened at a location, and maybe a spirit was felt bound to the location or was bound to the location, not able to leave. And in those kind of situations, you would have to, I guess, figure out how to help that spirit move on. Now, we did this at a location. There was believed to be a soldier that was there, and we did a visualization where we believe helped the spirit to cross over. And so I'm not really sure if it worked or not. The last we spoke to those clients, everything seemed to be fine. So possibly if you have a location where there is a spirit that is kind of sticking around, that is attached, you might be able to help it cross over, and then you would be free from the activity. Or you could just leave it, get an investigation, find out what's going on, and decide what steps you want to take from there, right? So aside from that, if you have an object and you believe that a spirit is attached to it, you could help get rid of the spirit or help the spirit move on in much the same way as if they were attached to a location. Some people just don't want a haunted object. If you're one of those people, there are tons of paranormal teams out there that would happily take your haunted object and put it in their museums or put it in their shed until they figure out what to do with it. Some paranormal teams will help you dispose of haunted objects, or you can dispose of them yourself. In these situations, if the object can safely go back to the earth, if it's made out of wood or something that's gonna like not pollute our earth, you can bury the item. Some people believe that burning items is the best way to go. Now, if you burn an item, there is the thought that possibly you release the spirit into the location where you're at. So this is not necessarily a good idea, and you might want to do a lot of research before you decide how you want to dispose of a potentially haunted object. If you come across an object or some piece of jewelry or something at a secondhand store that you feel super drawn to, and then you find that there's some kind of spiritual energy attached to it, you can try methods like cleansing it, so putting it out into the moonlight, running it underwater if you're able to, earthing it, so putting it outside in the dirt, and then obviously you'd have to clean it after. Cleansing it with moon water, things like this might help an item that is haunted or has some kind of energy attached to it to no longer be haunted. So these are some options if you have items that you think have some kind of spiritual or energy attachment to them. If you get something from a store and like an antique or something, and your house is suddenly haunted, maybe remove the item and see if the activity stops. And if it does stop, then you have your solution. And you can maybe call in a team to kind of help you get rid of it or figure out what to do next. So that is really all the information that I have on spiritual attachments. I find it really interesting, and I think like we all have something that we really, really love that if we died right now, maybe we would want to stick around for. People or your home or some possession that you would kind of watch over when you died. I don't know, but I think we all have something. So this is a really interesting subject for me, and the more I think about it, the more my mind kind of rambles on. So I'm gonna leave it at that. But if you have an item that you think is haunted and you need help getting rid of it, definitely let me know. Or if you want to tell me a story about a haunted item that you have or had, or your house with a spiritual attachment, or if you have a spiritual attachment, just let me know. And otherwise, I'll be back on another day with another video about something totally different. Okay, thanks guys, bye.